So here he's talking about
Yeah, segregation and
evolutionary potential for strategy B, strategy diagram with areas of integration and segregation. So here he's got the P sub B, and this is,
one thing is for sure,
yeah.
integration is out of question.
You can see he's doing something here. We conclude that a population which employs strategy B can segregate into colonies with a definite but different. He's talking about hawks and doves here instead of Afghans and Pakistanis, but the principles still apply. This is it's based on thermodynamics. So
The difficulty is that these people who are supposed to be absorbing or getting people integrated using the identity is their formation as a majority. The minority is the original residents. In India, for example, the Dravidians, they are the original population. The Aryans and the others, the Aryans and the others, they have displaced the Dravidians. And now they are claiming that India belongs to the Aryans. Hinduism developed in between India and Iran. Their Vedas are similar to the Zoroastrian concept. Most of those Vedas, they originate from Zoroaster. But a lie 100 times spoken becomes a truth. And India is now in the driving seat.
People could, it looks like you're going through Raoult's law and calculating
Composition of society AB at point 5 corresponding to a certain condition prevailing in the country will be given by question 33. 2,000 persons per day was the capacity of the Uranus towards the end of the last century. Because over 20 million of them migrated during the period of 30 years. This number has also been quoted by the UN High Commissioner. The one-time refugee become a dominant majority.
So here you're applying Henry's law.
That's what I'm trying to say about India and the Hindus and the Muslims. The Muslims were a dominant minority. They were ruling the country. Now they have become a dominant minority.
So you're talking about...
It's the integration of a minority into the majority. The majority is also a refugee.
Okay, well, we'll have to come back to that. Look at those facts later. But right here, let's take a look at Henry's law. You want to apply Henry's law to sociology. Solid A and solid B's and G's. Since so you say the escaping tendency of A is proportional to its mole fraction of B.
It is only in a dilute solution that the Henry's law will hold.
Okay.
So it's
What's an example of?
It's an insignificant minority. What can exist? Can be.
What's an example of?
But they will have to lose their identity.
What is an example of a socially dilute solution?
Dominant minority.
Okay.
In Myanmar,
So now we're at deviations from ideality. And you say that the thermodynamic conditions required for ideality
are not met in case of positive deviation.
from ideality, since there is an absorption of heat and an increase in the volume on mixing of the components. This is also reflected in the mixing of components of a society. In order to bring about the socialization, some energy will have to be induced into the system for a society. This could be either political, moral, or religious. Do you think you could explain this a little bit for us?
You cannot be assimilated unless you have some commonality. Commonality has to be there. Religion is one thing, political is another one. But most important is moral.
Okay, so in order to bring about
You will have to have similar morality.
Okay.
Morality in financial terms as well.
More similar moral and financial. Okay.
Morality, natural morality, financial morality.
So how do you
That means you have to be honest. If you are honest all the way, you can be integrated.
Okay, so how do you understand morality in thermodynamic terms?
Morality in thermodynamics terms. I think we will have to wait for another chapter.
Another chapter, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's see, we're right here.
Morality is one of those degrees of freedom that you have to lose.
Okay, let's look at table degrees of freedom. Okay, so you say in this top part here, the heat generated on this admixture has in many cases resulted in the breakout of riots between communities, but once they are accepted by the society or they go into solution, they become part of it. Well,
Is this true?
I don't know. Let's go a little farther here. From here to here, this has caught my attention.
I was in Japan for only some brief periods.
Huh?
I was in Japan
Yeah.
for some brief period. But this is based on that experience.
You went to America, huh? So let's see, a strongly...
This was the time of the 70s.
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 All right, let's read the quote here. In a strongly associated solvent like water, the addition of a second component usually causes positive deviations from ideality. This is because the addition of the second component causes depolymerization of water, leading to an increased partial vapor pressure. So in homogeneous and cohesive society, for example, Japan, settling of an American would split or depolymerize the community. And there and the fugacity of the American would be much greater than in America. So you're saying Americans depolymerize Japan?
American would split or depolymerize the community.
So what do you mean, example?
No,
They break up the chains?
The Japanese don't accept anybody.
The police don't accept
They
anybody?
don't accept anybody.
Well, what about...
But in case you lose your morality in their case, if you lose your morality, there is a problem, there is a chance.
Mhm.
But then again, the Japanese society is so traditional
Mhm.
that it will not accept anybody.
Okay, so
But the Americans have forced themselves in.
Americans have what?
Americans have forced themselves into
Yeah.
Japan.
Uh-huh.
They occupied Japan for quite some time.
And they're breaking up the chains of Japanese...
They have changed their system.
Okay.
It went on to the extent that Bush or somebody, he said, Why don't you people, why do you people have to save your money? Why don't you expand? Why don't you go into consumerism? It's lack of consumerism that your traditional.
The Americans told the Japanese this?
Yeah, they force them.
Okay. So what would be,
And ever after Japan.
just explain, what do you mean by polymerized,
Polymer.
Japanese polymer? What do you mean?
Japanese have been depolymerized.
What is the definition of a Japanese polymer?
Japanese polymer.
Yeah.
This is the type of people who are ruling the country.
How many people are in the polymer chain?
Abe is one.
Huh?
AB, he's
A, B, C, D is one. They're all linked together.
They will be scattered.
Okay.
Scattered, some of them for consumerism, others for non-consumerism. Some of them will appreciate the Americans, others will hate the Americans. Some of them will admire the Chinese, the others will not. So they are all split into so many communities.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the figure 3.5. It's called the molecular picture of the solution process. So what is this?
This is splitting.
What?
This is splitting. The salt molecule is being split from the water molecule.
This is the water, and this is the salt molecule.
This is all water.
What is this? Salt crystal?
At the periphery, there is some interaction.
What is this? What is this thing?
Interaction of water with the salt.
So this is
With
one
the
molecule.
salt.
This right here is
And the
NaCl.
interaction will start.
Okay, so what
This
exactly is this? though?
This is salt.
This is one NaCl molecule.
And this is an initial morph.
Yeah.
But
Huh?
this initial morph is
What is this?
surrounded by water.
What is this right here? The piece that's breaking off.
This is the salt. Yeah.
So what is this?
This is salt. This is salt molecule.
So this is one piece of
interaction.
salt broken off.
This is interaction.
Okay.
Broken up. Is split from here.
Okay.
This one is maintaining the identity. This one is getting into dissolve.
Okay. So then down here you say this particular individual, human may be considered as a molecule. For example, a person in a community. So this could be a community of a clan which happens to settle in a large. For example, this is refugees. This is refugees in East Punjab.
Yeah.
And this is one of the people, the clan starts breaking off and going into the solution of the society.
So there are two types of depolymerization being occurred. One polymer, this is a polymer, right? This is being depolymerized,
Okay.
and this is another form. The solution is another polymer. तुम नहीं मानोगे हैं यार, बुरी बात है यार, खराब हो जाएगा।
Okay, so down here you say, right here, for example, there was a limit to the absorption of refugees coming from India, coming to Sindh. Where is Sindh?
This is a province.
Province in Pakistan.
We are sitting in Sindh province.
Okay, so refugees came from India to Sindh. These were
For example,
Muslim Hindus.
For example, I
Okay.
came from India. I settled here in Karachi.
Okay.
Karachi is in Sindh.
And then after having exceeded this limit, the local populace started reacting and conflicts were observed because the early, in 1948, so they reached saturation point. Is that right?
Some of the Sindhis they absorbed, but the refugees were in such large number that they had no, the cities had no way.
So what's an example of the reactions and the conflicting reactions? What's one
They
example?
started reacting and conflicts were resolved.
What would be, they were fighting
no,
with each
no
other?
exhaustion.
Shooting each other?
Yeah, did. In 1948 there were conflicts.
They were fighting,
Yes, killing.
killing and fighting?
But they forced themselves into the houses of people who had already evacuated.
What here is an example of a supersaturated society? What is-
Supersaturated, sir.
Yeah. Hyper bad also represents a super. What is
There were-
what is
There
Hyder?
were too many
Where is
of
this?
those.
Where is Hyderabad at?
Hyderabad is another city,
In Karachi,
about
in
150,
Pakistan.
150 kilometers.
How big
From
is the
Karachi.
population?
Population is about, now it should be about 1 million.
So it is. But at one time, in about 1981, they were a supersaturated society.
It was already supersaturated. In less than 3 years, it was supersaturated.
Why?
Sakkar is about 300 to 400 kilometers from
So there was a lot of refugees.
This did not have as much of saturation. It was saturated, yes, but not supersaturated.
So there was in Hyderabad,
Supersaturated, sir.
they had
But in
more.
Sakkar,
They had so many refugees that all the refugees couldn't find employment. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the supersaturated refugees, they had to live in slums.
Okay. Let's see, page 61, you say at the bottom, a highly polar solution is like a highly permissive society, which does not have rigid norms and hence its individuals. What's an example of a highly polar society? Which country right now has the most polar society in the world?
I was going to name America.
It's okay. You can. I have take no offense. So you say that they do not have rigid norms, and hence its individuals let any community do whatever it would like. So I just want to understand. Then when you say,
India is another one.
huh?
India is highly polar.
Highly polar.
Japanese are not polar. Chinese are not polar. The Burmese, they are not polar. Cambodians, they are not polar.
Okay. A highly polar solution is like a highly permissive society. So I'm going to draw a diagram here so we can understand this a little bit.
यहाँ छोड़ दो ना यार उसको हाँ छोड़ दो मुझे काम करना हो बंद करो बंद कर दो बंद कर दो permissive society.
Permissive society.
हाँ, कौन कौन सी permissive society? अमेरिका मैंने कह दिया, अमेरिका मैंने,
Permissive है।
हिंदुस्तान मैंने कह दिया।
Canadian society permissive है.
कैनेडियंस, हाँ,
Canadian society permissive.
Okay. So now, from what I understand,
नहीं,
the example of,
Japanese,
you say,
no,
let's take a look here. That the, so, let's see, non-polar society is going to be, okay, so here we go. We have non-polar society. The electrons are all confined to the three double bonds, and water is a polar molecule. So the charges line up so that we have these arrangements that
a non-polar entity will have to have no poles.
okay, so this one here, the poles line up over here, charges, and this one, the charges line up because the molecules are polar, and they line up such that so that the electrons are a certain attachment. In non-polar society, there's no.
Yeah. But you are
Is that
drawing
correct?
a picture of a hydrogen bomb, hydrogen bond.
But water is a polar molecule, correct?
Huh? Water is a polar molecule.
And you say America is like a polar molecule.
And all its association of the H2O is because of the polarity.
Explain to me how, if human Americans are like polar molecules, and you say that
Hydrogen bonding is characteristic of water.
you say a highly polar solution is like a highly permissive society. So how is the one over here highly permissive?
A highly polar society is
Permissive.
like a hydro. It has to be highly associated. It needs to be heterogeneous, but at the same time association has to be introduced so that everything else can be absorbed there.
So it can absorb more.
Water is highly polar. It has a high dielectric constant. It can dissolve everything, anything.
Okay.
It
So
is,
let me give
it
an
is an ideal solvent, but
Let me give you an example. You say on page 62, you say the African society, however, presents itself as a non-polar society. So what molecule? You say the Africans are non-polar, correct?
Africans are not polar yet.
What molecule comes to mind? So I can draw.
Are non-polar yet.
What non-polar solution comes to mind?
Non-polar solution.
Yeah, the chemical, the name of the chemical. That
most of these organic solvents.
what kind of solvent?
Organic solvents.
For example, carbon tetrachloride.
Carbon.
Carbon tetrachloride.
CCl3.
Carbon.
CCl4. CCl3 is chloroform. It can dissolve things. CCl4 will dissolve things with difficulty.
So carbon.
Carbon tetrafluoride.
Tetrachloride, okay,
See,
that's similar
That
to,
should be highly non-polar.
okay, this is equal to the Africans.
Similarly, carbon hydride, CH4, methane.
Let's explain this one here. The carbon tetrachloride is equal to the African society. That's correct?
Africans are non-polar. They can be dissolved, but they will not dissolve.
All right, well, let me, I'll have to think about that. That's good. Let me plug back into the phone, we'll go a little farther. So now,
That's the basis of my thesis also.
so right here you say, the American society, as observed, only absorbs those who are polarizable, and hence the white immigrants who had developed the fugacity to get out of the enclaves, and also had developed a polarizable ability, got assimilated. So what do you mean by this?
What do you mean by this?
What type of
Who
molecule?
developed the fugacity to get out of the enclaves and had also developed they got assimilated.
So what solution comes to mind here?
The immigrants, white immigrants were ready to get absorbed anyway. They were coming there as conquerors.
Uh-huh.
So they were
So-
able to dictate terms on the Red Indians, let's say.
Yeah.
And
So the Red Indians
they
were-
would do anything. They in the first instance they would remain outside. But then as conquerors, they had the potential to influence the other people. And they forced themselves in.
Okay, so what molecule comes to mind here for polarizable immigrants? The white immigrants are, what molecule comes to mind first?
The immigrants, in this case, the immigrants were the polarized molecules.
You know,
Full of energy and full of everything. They could do anything.
what's the chemical that comes to mind, the chemical parallel, chemical model?
Chemical for
Which type of chemical?
ammonia.
Ammonia, okay. All right, I'll think that over.
Maybe the reaction between silver, mercury and aluminium.